Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Juan's World, and I'm opening as I did for the last two times with a view of my freezer to show that my lockdown is now over and I'm starting to catch back up. I've got some meats in here, I've got new bread, I've got a few vegetables which I bought fresh and I blanched. So I'm back in business, and welcome. I'm going to talk today about making a kind of rice pudding called kheer, which is used in various parts of South Asia and Southeast Asia. On today, I'm making this video on Monday, although it'll show on Tuesday. Today is called Wesak Buchia in Cambodia, and it's a major Buddhist holiday, and recipes are all vegetarian, and so I'm going to show you how to make an Indian rice pudding with milk, rice, cardamom, almonds and saffron. So let's get cooking. So before I get into my recipe for rice pudding, which is short and sweet, literally sweet, I want to talk a little bit about lockdown. I was put in lockdown on the 10th. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I got up on the 10th, which is a Saturday, to go to the supermarket, and the gate to my apartment complex was locked, and I was told I was in lockdown for 2 weeks and that I wasn't allowed to leave my apartment, which I didn't. Fortunately, I had enough food in the apartment. I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to shopping. I have a tendency to buy too much and I end up with a freezer overflowing with things. So I was fine. Towards the end it got a little squirrely, but it was okay. And what worried me was that on the broadcasts that I saw, they were all saying that the lockdown was going to end on the 28th. And even my building manager said that, even though I'd received official notification from the government that my lockdown was going to end on the 24th. So Saturday came along, bright and early. I looked out and I thought, well, I'll check to see. I'll look down the street, and went out, and the security guard at the gate said, street's open. So fine, I got on my bike, and I had a lot of things to do. I had to go to the bank because I had no money. And I also need to go to the visa agent because my residence visa is due at the beginning of May. And I got on the street and it was empty. It was just crazy. I've never ridden my bicycle on such empty streets. The main street that my street is off is called Russian Boulevard, and it's a big east-west thoroughfare. It's normally jam-packed, especially at the time that I was going out, which was about 7:30, which is the rush hour. Nothing. I mean, a few motorbikes here and there, and nothing else. And I thought, well, this is going to be easy, but it was a little bit ominous. And then of course, lo and behold, about 3 kilometers in, I started hitting roadblocks. A lot of the districts that I need to travel through going east to get to the center were blocked off. And they wouldn't let me through, of course. So I had to work my way around, and that was very complicated. I ended up going a long way north until I hit another main thoroughfare. And then I got all the way east to where I wanted to go. And then I started going south on Monivong Boulevard and noticed that nothing was open. All the businesses, all the shops were shuttered. So I knew before I even got down to the visa agent that they weren't going to be open, but I figured I'd just double check. I mean, you never know. And of course they were closed. So the way I figure it is that different districts have lockdowns that are of different lengths, or different timing, I should say, not lengths. They're all 14 days. There's a question of when they started. And mine started on the 10th, so it ended on the 24th. All good. When I got back into my district, I went to my supermarket, which was just opening when I got there, and amazed to discover that unlike on normal opening days, opening times, it was jam-packed. I mean, people everywhere, which was not a good sign. I don't like to get too close to people in confined spaces. But you know, I needed some vegetables, I needed some meat, so I rushed around quickly and got what I needed and came home. And then on Sunday, I ventured out again to the supermarket to get more things, and found that on Sunday at opening time, also jam-packed. And I think part of that had to do with the fact that everybody had been locked down in my district for 2 weeks and were finally able to get out. There wasn't a whole lot of fresh stuff in the supermarket. Some, curiously, no pork whatsoever. Pork is a very big deal in Asia in general, certainly in Cambodia. Some fish, some vegetables. Most of the vegetables were expensive because they were organic vegetables and charging more. I got what I could, and then Wesak Bochia came along, and I thought, well, I'll go out and go to the pagodas and take some photos. I'll keep my distance, but I'll do that. And then I thought better of it. I thought, well, you know, it'll be here again next year, so I'll do that when the pandemic's gone. And meanwhile, I'm still waiting for a vaccine. There's nothing for me because I'm over 60. And it doesn't look as if people in lockdown are being vaccinated either. Well, what would make a lot of sense would be to lock a district down like mine and set up a vaccination center inside the district and say, okay, everyone come and get vaccinated. But I don't think the government here is quite up to that. The best I got, completely ridiculous, about 12 days into the lockdown, my doorbell rang, and as it happens, I was making a video at the time, so I had to stop and answer the door, and it was one of the staff in the building with a box of bottled water, 20 bottles of water. Why? We all in our apartments have big dispensers of drinking water that we get from the apartment complex. Costs $1 for, I don't know, 10 or 20 litres. I don't know how big it is, but you know, it lasts me for a month. Why do I need a box of bottles of water? I don't. So it's just sitting over by the door, and I'm clueless as to what to do. So I'm hoping that the citywide lockdown will be over by Wednesday, and I'll venture out again on Thursday to see about my visa. But I'm not at all optimistic about anything because the number of positive cases in Cambodia is continuing to rise despite the lockdown. Now, it does take 2 weeks for a lockdown to have an effect, but this one's been in effect for at least 2 weeks in some places and still in effect, and the number of cases per day is not going down at all. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the long run, except that I'm going to keep stocking up on meat and eggs and cheese and vegetables and whatnot. And when it happens again, I'll be prepared. So meanwhile, here's my very short recipe for rice pudding. And I hope that it satisfies your urges in this direction. I'm not a big rice pudding fan, but this one is okay. It's good for lockdown dessert. So let's go on with that. So, very simple starting point. I've got some cardamom seeds. I'm going to add some milk and I'm going to scald it, and then I'm going to cook some rice in the milk. So, nothing very complicated as yet. I've added some milk and it's on medium-low heat, and I'm just going to bring it to a very low simmer, and then I'm going to add some rice, and about halfway through the process I'm going to add some sugar and saffron, and then at the tail end I'm going to add in some sliced almonds. So I let the cardamom pods infuse into the warm milk for about a couple of hours, and now I'm heating the milk back up and I'm going to add some rice. And I'm using glutinous rice because it's what I'm used to, although often in India they use basmati. But the glutinous rice will make the milky, creamy base of the rice pudding a little bit thicker. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to cook for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to add a few other things, including a little bit of sugar and some sliced almonds. So you can see everything's merrily bubbling away. I have to keep an eye on it because it can easily scorch, and I don't want that to happen, so I have to keep stirring, but I'll come back and add the sugar in a few minutes. So now I've added a little bit of palm sugar and some sliced almonds, and I'm going to keep stirring and finish off the rice pudding. Well, here is the finished product, and you can see that it's a little bit brown, and that's because of the sugar. That is, normally you expect rice pudding to be white, which it would be if I used white sugar, but I used brown palm sugar, and so it's kind of tan color, I guess. It's got the suntan from the tropics. And I could also have used white sugar, and then the saffron coloring would have been a little bit more predominant. The flavor is very intense. The cardamom and milk, really a great combination. And I've also added just a little bit of sliced banana just to add some fruit, and there it is, the vegetarian dessert for Wesak Pochia. So if you like this video, please tell your friends, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on Friday.